Right there.
Where?
Right there. See him? He's laying down. See him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Instead, I'm here with you fighting cartel to get us sentenced.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There he
not
is.
easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. It's much tougher than it happened.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
That is so shocking that people who are just in the crowd.
Right there.
Where?
Right there. See him? He's laying down. See him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Instead, I'm here with you fighting cartel to get us sentenced.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There he
not
is.
easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. It's much tougher than it happened.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
That is so shocking that people who are just in the crowd noticed it and also realized there was a danger there. Yet authorities were in the dark. There was a local police officer who.
Hey, good evening. So we'll get back to that here in just a little bit. That video has got some really damning evidence. And eventually I'll get this whole opening to the podcast up and working correctly. I know there for a second the volume wasn't working. So this is a trial and error in process. I'm obviously learning all this stuff myself. So if you guys will bear with me, I'm having to do the research. I'm having to put it together. I'm having to put together the podcast, line up all the documents, all the videos to show you, because I'm sure if you guys have followed me for some time, you realize and know that I like to bring the proof so that you can see it yourself. So not just listening to what I say, but seeing where the research comes from and how I come up with it. There is a couple of things that I want to clear up that are going around, because I feel like if we continue on this narrative of sending out false information or keep buying into these false narratives, then we can't dial things down to the actual truth, right? So one of the things is, this is Maxwell Urich that has been on the, he was the one that was on the roof, and he's the one that's actually the one that got unalived, and it was not Crooks. This is going around massively. I've seen it on major accounts of people that are spreading this. And one of them, not to say, but this was the one that was got my attention. So right here, this is some Tyler something show, right? And he's saying that this is, in fact, Urich that was the shooter. He was there. He got arrested, all this stuff. And this is the guy he's saying that is him, which is clearly not him, right? And then I don't know how much of this I'm going to show, but so I took this image and cleaned it up just a little bit, right? So he also said that Urich Armory, which was in Arizona, and this was the video where he goes up to the house and kind of blindsides the lady, and he's like, "Oh, I know who you are. Are you part of the family?" She's kind of stunned, and you notice that. I guess I probably should share this with you. Let me pull this video up so see. So I'm going to show you the same thing that I'm talking about. Let me. So Urich is the one that that's who they want to tell you that this is, right? So this is the one that was up on the roof. And then the show that I was talking about was this one right here. Let me take this. I don't know why I guess it's something's popping over. It's Tyler something show. I can't remember exactly, but so he, kind of jumped out, blindsided this lady at her house, and also pinpointed the house belonged to Urich Armory, which this got a lot of stuff going on for the people that were there. So the deal was, it was the same last name. So there was there was we got that part right, okay. And then, but the problem was this guy is Tanner Urick. He had to write a letter on and post it because a lot of crazy things were happening. He was getting death threats. He was getting all kinds of stuff. And as he states in this letter, or actually it was a post rather, is that this isn't him. It is his business, but he doesn't deal. And I think this even went as far to say that he provided arms for guerrilla warfare groups in Cuba and other places like this. I mean, it's this big elaborate deal, right? So this guy's having to come out and defend himself. And the thing that we see happens often and a lot in our society today is people want to jump the gun with citizen journalism. And, it's not that we definitely want to find out what the true story is. It's that making sure that you have it right before you run with it, right? So this was clearly, if you look at this letter and read it, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if you do, you can tell this already caused this guy a lot of grief, a lot of heartache. And, this has probably tarnished his business for a really long time, and so forth. So I'm going to go to this tab. The reason I want to go to this, you have a front view. You can see Crooks's ear, right? So if you look, I'm going to use this little pointer here. I don't know why we got the magnifying glass, but if you see right here, you can definitely see there's something that happened. And let me blow that up for you a little bit better. There's something that happened to his ear, right? What that is, I don't know. Maybe it's a birth defect. Maybe, something happened when he was younger, but you can see there's very clear there's a hump, right? So clean this picture up a little bit. So hopefully this doesn't get me in too much trouble, but took all the red stuff off. But look at the ear. I mean, that's pretty definitive on that's his ear, right? So again, you can see them side by side. It's definitely his ear, right? So here's a side by side. So you take a look at that. So again, I know a lot of people that were going off of, we're going off of this picture, and they were saying, "Oh man, look, it looks just like this guy." And yes, there are some similarities there until you start really dialing in and looking at certain features that can't be changed, like his ear, right? All right, so I just wanted to talk about that one because that's a big one that I still see every day that is moving around hot and heavy on social media. And to me, this is just it's a disservice to what's really happening, right? We need to make sure that when we're talking about what's really going on, when we are putting information out there, when we're spreading information, we need to make sure that it's the right stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, the more that we digest about what's going on, which I can tell you this, I was cramming right until I started this podcast, and I've been studying for 2 days to put this thing together because the information is coming, and there's still a big chunk of information that I didn't get to add to this podcast because I simply didn't have time to put it together by myself. The information is coming out so fast. And that is also very difficult to decipher through and get through, but we need to do our best to do that. So on the last podcast, I talked about, I got a hold of Butler ESU and the Donald J. Trump detail, which this is on Senator Grassley's website. So anybody can go to that and check that out. So we're going to go through a couple of things on here. Something that is very striking to me, and we'll get through this because Cheadle, I think I'm saying that right, who was the director of the Secret Service who just left, and Rowe, who stepped in her place, and the colonel, I couldn't remember his name, from the state police, and they've all either lied under oath or they have misspoke under oath, right? So I'm not really sure how 4 people from 4 different agencies that did 4 different investigations all came back with the same answer and misspoke, right? So we're gonna dive into that, right? So we're gonna go down here real quick. Ooh, pardon me. Let's just do it this way. All right. So we're gonna look at the area of operation. Now, this is for Butler and Beaver County. And if you notice here, this is where the area of operation is. So this is where the sniper teams are going to be. Of course, these two are the snipers that were behind front stage. These are the ones we've seen the iconic images of behind him. These were the ones that you could see behind him when he was speaking. Okay, over here to the south and to the left, you see there's another sniper that was here, another one that was here. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting is the reason that you have snipers is they are usually set between 300 to 400 yards back because they can pick up a quarter off a fence post, right? And the reason that you have them, I'm sorry, let me blow this up so you can see it. All right. So the reason you have them on the outside perimeter is because they're watching everything that's happening inside, right? And they would be, and they still would be checking their perimeter of where they're at, right? But likely a normal person's not gonna, or a regular, or even a special somebody's not gonna have a hard time getting far away. Now, one of the things I want to bring up about this fairground is that multiple people, multiple senators, multiple ex-law enforcement, ex-military that are now senators went to this site, and they all said the first thing that came out of their mouth is, why are we doing this here? This is such a huge open area. As you can see right here, you have the three buildings that were behind him. You have these buildings here. You have these two buildings here. You have all these buildings over here. Of course, you have these homes that are here. Then you have these buildings that are across the street. And then you can't see up here where the word operation is. There's several houses up that way. And then, of course, over here is the famous AGR set of buildings that you can only see the first two, but there's three more behind it. And then also there's a water tower that is right here that has the best line of sight. And the hugest question has been, why was there not a Secret Service team put on that water tower? The answer has always been, I am not sure. I don't have that information in front of me. I'll have to get back to you on that. So what should be 101, we're not even covering, right? So over here is where the two snipers were supposed to be in the second story, as they say. And this is going to be Butler and Beaver County, right? So if you were going to put two snipers over here, and let me remind you, this is a direct line of sight. This is where Crooks was right here on this building. That's a direct line of sight where the stage was. That's about 400 feet, 450 feet right there. That's a direct line of sight. Would you have put them in that building, or would you have put them on that roof? And I've got a bombshell that I'm going to drop here in a minute that is going to open up a lot of questions and open up a lot of crazy stuff going on, right? So Ray and Cheadle both testified, both snipers left the windows. Okay, so one thing that's not clear is this diagram is showing two snipers, so that would be two teams, so that would be four people. Then there's been a witness that said there was three snipers in the window. We still have not gotten that clarified. Then they made it sound like the entire time there was one sniper team that was in that window. So a sniper and a spotter, right? So Ray and Cheadle both testified, that the snipers left because they lost sight of Crooks and they were trying to find him. So they left. Then it changed to a correction that only one of them left to go try to find Crooks and notify other law enforcement. So my big question here would simply be this. If you are a sniper and your job is to protect the asset, which in this case would be Donald Trump, would you leave your post for any reason whatsoever? Would there be anything at all that could I guess short of your building catching on fire, right? That would be a reason to leave the building. But other than that, if your job is to protect him, would you leave that for any reason whatsoever? And the answer is no. So it's interesting that at first they said the sniper team left to go look for crooks, and then the correction came, which I'm sure that's because all this buzz started creating around X and social media, and like, what do you mean they left? And then it comes back, oh, I need to correct my statement. One of them left and went to look for crooks, right? So we still don't have an answer 19 days later. Was it one team? Was it two teams? Was it four guys? Was it three guys? Did one leave? Did two leave? Did three? We don't have any answers yet to that one question. And that really bothers me because all these senators, all these congressional hearings, I've listened to about 15 hours of congressional hearings, and we still don't have that answer. That doesn't make any sense to me, right? Why are we not getting these hard questions answered? So, like I said, Roe came in to clean it up, said that, one had left. He came back after trying to locate crooks. And then the door had locked behind him, so he knocked on the door. And then the sniper left his asset completely exposed to go down the stairs and open the door for the other guy. And during this time, this is when it all went down. Now, let me tell you why this doesn't add up. Now, this is the timeline that was specifically given by Roe. Okay, from 6:02 to 6:08, they lost sight of Crooks. He was sitting at the little picnic table. They took the picture of him, and then all of a sudden, he gets up and walks off, and nobody notices where he goes. Okay, I guess. Okay, so and then at 6:06, they now have a camera view of Crooks crawling up to the back building, right? No ladder. This whole deal about a ladder, no ladder. He just used the air conditioner and the ducts and all that stuff and crawled right up on the back building and then made his way to the front building, right? Okay, so 6:02 to 6:08, they lose sight. 6:06, the video shows him crawling up on the building, which none of them have seen yet. And then at 6:08, he's seen by the first law enforcement officer. Now, the video that I was showing before this started, obviously the crowd noticed him before the police did, right? And they're screaming, hey, he's up there. He's got a gun. There's a guy up on the roof, right? Now, this is why this timeline doesn't make sense. So this guy goes supposedly from the window downstairs, lets the dude in, and comes back up. 30 seconds? 45 seconds? Shit, let's give him a minute. You know what? Give him an extra minute. Maybe stopped and tied his shoelaces. Give him 2 minutes. The reason it doesn't make sense is because when that first police officer saw him at 6:08, at 6:11, another law enforcement officer lifted up another cop to let him look over the ridge, to look up on the roof, and he's holding him up, and he sees that Crooks has a gun. Now, there's been speculation that Crooks turned away from his line of sight on Trump, pointed it at him, and then somehow managed to turn back and get sick. Again, who knows, right? But that's what they're saying right now. So they're saying they saw him with a gun, and at 6:11, he radioed it in, and approximately 30 seconds later, the firing began. So why does that not make sense? Because you're telling me from 6:08 to 6:11 and 30 seconds, 3.5 minutes, some law enforcement couldn't figure out how to get up over that roof and drop one in the back of his noggin? Or, hey, go around the front of the building, distract him, and I'm gonna climb back over this ridge and I'm gonna drop one in. Really? That didn't come into play? That 3.5 minutes to decide that? Did anybody think in that 3.5 minutes, we got a guy with a gun, get Trump off the stage? I mean, let's say the guy on the roof, they didn't decide was a real threat until they saw the gun at 6 minutes, 6:11, and then they still had 30 seconds to get Trump off stage, which they did not. Now, remember, this is from a building that you could take a 9-iron and hit a golf ball right to the stage, to the podium, right? So why didn't Secret Service have a sniper on there? Even if they didn't, why wasn't Butler or Beaver County on that route? Why can't we get an answer to that? That's the craziest thing to me is we're not getting answers to the really tough questions. We're getting answers to some BS, but we're not getting answers to real questions, right? All right, so let me get back to this deal right here. All right, so we're going to go to here. Now, so here's the deal. These snipers got on their post at 1100 hours. They sat there for 5 hours. And you're telling me not one sniper team or sniper or spotter or any local law enforcement that got on those grounds at that point looked around and said, "Hey man, what about that building? Why is there nobody not on it? That looks pretty dangerous. Or that water tower up there, man, that looks really dangerous. Why wouldn't anybody be there? Not one." Seems interesting. I'm about to give you something that's going to really rock your boat, though. This is really going to blow the doors off of things. So again, that's something that's really, really, really strange, right? And then here, when you look at this page, right, this is the order of importance of the Secret Service, right? So Sector 1 is going to be the yellow. Then Sector 2 would be the barns where the 2 Secret Service snipers were that were on behind Trump. Now, let me remind you that these 2 snipers, one of them did not have a view of the building that Crooks was on at all because of a tree. And the other sniper team had a partial view. Part of it was blocked by this tree. They would never, ever, ever put a sniper team in a normal situation to where they didn't have a clear line of sight. I mean, could you imagine being the sniper guy that you're sitting on a building that you can't see a whole, you're one team and you can't see a whole roof line, so you have no idea what's coming from that way. And then you're the other sniper team who only has a partial view and you can't see what's coming from the other part of that. Would you want to be that sitting duck? That doesn't make any sense to me, right? Okay, so yeah, and just this direct line of sight thing, right? So if you notice here on this deal, you can just see the route that Crooks was on. You can't even see the whole thing right there. That was not even listed as an order of importance. They considered this parking lot more important than this direct line of sight that was 400 feet away directly on Trump. So pretty interesting information, right? Now, I know another thing I want to debunk. There's been a lot of chatter about the comms and how that was set up and how, they were having to get permission from Secret Service to fire on, Crooks or really anybody else. That is not true. It is literally stated here that the level of force and deadly force that they need to take, if they needed to, was based on the totality of the circumstances surrounding it, right? So they had full permission to do this. They didn't have to wait for anybody to tell them to do anything. Now let's talk about the comms, right? This is something I really want to dive into real quick before I drop this crazy deal that's going to blow your mind here in a minute. Okay, so this is something that out of all the congressional hearing stuff that I watched, they kept asking about the communication, and supposedly now it's called siloed communication. Okay, and basically what that means is because you have on the ground at that point you have local PD, you have state PD, you have, I believe there was 1 or 2 volunteer police departments. One of them was for the motorcade from another city, of course, bringing them in. And then you have Secret Service, and then you have SWAT. You have sniper teams, right? So everybody's got these channels of communication. Well, I believe there was like 100+ people that overheated that day. There's a lot of stuff going on, right? So if everybody's talking on the radio, you'll never figure out things. You'll never get things done. It'll be a disaster, right? So what they did was they set up a central command post. And what you do is you put a leader from each one of those departments in there. So the snipers, the local law enforcement, Beaver County, Butler, state police, etc. Right? So each one of those has a representative in there. And then when you radio in something on boots on the ground and you see something going on, then you radio that in. They're all in a room together. They talk about it, decide what level of threat that is, and figure out where to go from there. Right? And then that commander comes back and he tells you what you need to hear. That's not uncommon. Here's where it gets really uncommon. There were two command posts: Secret Service and everybody else. Okay, so what hasn't been clarified is, okay, how did that work? Were they running from one place to the other? That question didn't get asked in the congressional hearings, and I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, how is this not being addressed? That we're not asking how this worked. And the colonel of the state police was asked, was the sniper leader, whatever the special name is, was that person in the Secret Service command center? His response? He was. I'm just not sure at what times and for what length. Okay, so wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that there's multiple teams of snipers that are set up? By the way, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there was 7 teams of snipers that were at this deal. I've seen protests downtown have up 20 sniper teams. So this is still blowing my mind that we're only talking about 7, but we'll just keep running with that. So you mean to tell me the guy that was in charge of relaying messages from the snipers was not in the Secret Service command center the entire time, every second? I mean, he should have been peeing in a bottle, right? He should have never left his position. That is probably the most crucial part of the entire operation, would be the snipers. But apparently they don't know at what times and for what lengths of times he was in there. Because, I don't know, was he running back and forth to the 2 command posts? I don't know. We can't get an answer to that because we can't even get an answer as to why there was 2 command posts. So again, that just blows me away that is not getting answered. And then if you're having 2 command centers, then you have a delay in the response. So is that delay intentional? Is there a reason you're making that delay happen? Because it doesn't make logical sense. I've never ran a task force, so I can't speak from that, but I can tell you from a common sense, from communications, from comms, I can definitely tell you a little bit of experience in that. So, okay. I just, this really just, I can't believe this has not been answered. So one of the things that I was looking at this, I'm going to blow this back up real quick so you can see it. Let me jump over here to a different page. Again, I'll get more fluid at this one day. This is the contingencies, right? So this is if shit hits the fan, this is what we're going to do. So if you look down here, so that was, yeah, go to 25. Okay. So this is the contingency plan, right? Attack on event, multiple actors, Beaver County ESU counter assault team responsibility, main entrance to event, sector number 3, number 5, number 7. Okay. Response will be quick and direct and to the threat and neutralize said threat. Duh, right? This is what I thought was very, very interesting. Each counter assault team, Beaver and Butler, remember those were the 2 that were supposedly in that second story. Beaver and Butler will hold their, now that, I guess that's a grammatical error, will behold their area of responsibility. This is to ensure there can be response to a secondary attack. Okay, so what this means is is they're telling them, do not leave under any circumstance your area of responsibility. That way, if the first teams are initially responding to something, you're still paying attention as the snipers to make sure that if there's a secondary threat, you're there to take it out. But we were told people left their window to go look for him. We were told people left the window to go let the other one back in. We were told there were 3, there were 4, there were 2. I mean, what is it? And more importantly, why are the senators of Congress not getting the actual answer? Right? Again, I still have some more stuff to comb through. I didn't cram it all in this one, so I may be getting some more answers to this on the next episode. All right, so here's what I'm gonna share with you that came out, and this is pretty crazy, right? So this was July 31st at 1:40 p.m. Beaver County officials say Secret Service told them to set up snipers on ground level as opposed to top of the roof. Now, let me tell you why this is a bombshell, right? Because the entire time I've been watching the congressional hearings, they keep showing this window from the second story that overlooks the entire roof of where Crooks came crawling from the other building onto, goes up and down multiple times, and you'll see that in a video here in a minute, and they never saw him. For approximately, again, 6:06 to 6:11, which is 5 minutes, and then the 30 seconds it took for him to start shooting. For 5.5 minutes. That either means they were never in that post or they just completely abandoned it. So which one is it? So let's go back and take a look at this article, because this is getting really crazy now, right? Because this is now people are saying, hey, you're lying about us, right? So Beaver County officials told Fox News that the Secret Service told a local sniper team to set up on the ground level looking into the Butler, Pennsylvania crowd, as opposed to on top of the warehouse roof where Thomas Crooks would take 8 shots at President Trump and rally goers. The local Beaver County officials also told Fox News that had the Secret Service told them to post up on the roof, they would have. There was no issue with the sloped roof. They were simply told to stay at the ground level. Now, if you know anything about this, Cheadle, her first day, said that she did not send them on the roof because of the slant of the roof. And I don't know if you've ever seen the snipers that stand on the White House and stand on all these different places. Yeah, that's the steepness of that roof. Has nothing to do with it. The Beaver County officials also rebuffed Acting Service Director Ronald Rowe and said the 2 local snipers were looking out a window on the ground level. So what he's saying there is we did not have local snipers from Beaver County in that second story window. It is a different warehouse window than the one Rose points to during his testimony to a Senate panel on Tuesday. He's saying we were not in that window. We were in a first floor window. So let's go ahead and take a look at this little clip here.
In those first 2 windows.
So he's wrong about the assignment.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing to not lose sight of is, their job was on being on the outside unsecured perimeter, looking inward at those, that had already gone through security.
The local officials told Fox this was the view their 2 snipers had. You can see this is a different warehouse window than the one Rowe pointed to, and the vantage point is at the ground level looking into the crowd and not onto the roof. The commander of the local snipers says if the Secret Service had told them to place their snipers on the roof, they would have. Acting Director Rowe says he takes full responsibility, though, and they will be more forward and direct next time with their local counterparts. We've reached out to the Secret Service about what local law enforcement officials are saying here on the ground, and they directed us back to Rowe's congressional testimony. John.
So what's really interesting to me there is they sent him back to Rowe. They sent them back to Rowe's testimony instead of talking. Now, the interesting thing is, let me pull this up real quick. Who is Rowe, right? Because at first I wasn't even sure who he was. And then after I started looking into it, I realized that Rowe was appointed to his position in April of 2023. According to his official biography, in that role, he has direct oversight of the agency's daily investigative and protective operations, guides agency policy, and introduces new technologies to enhance the agency's protective countermeasures, according to his biography. So, in a nutshell, what I take away from that is he is, in fact, the one that is in charge of overseeing these operations. And of course, I could go into his testimony right now, but I'm going to save that for a little bit later. So I think it's interesting that Cheadle steps down, and the guy that replaces her is the next person that was actually in charge of the day-to-day operations that this came from, that this happened under, right? Now, I don't know for sure with Cheadle, but typically when you're at the top, right, you have people below you, and this person handles this part of the business, this person handles this part, this person handles this part, this person handles this part, and so on. And then you have meetings, and they come back together and they tell you what's going on. This is what we have going on this week. This is what we're going to do. Da, 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 da. And your job is to oversee all that. So yes, absolutely, the buck stops with you, which is why Cheadle resigned. But also, wouldn't the buck stop with Rowe, because he was the one in charge of, in fact, these exact operations, right? So I find that very interesting that is who the replacement is. Again, I'm not Secret Service. I don't know how you would go in pecking order, but it would seem like to me the person that's actually in charge of the oversight of this stuff would not be the person I'd want taking that. It seems almost like he's coming in to clean up Cheadle's testimony, because if you heard that thing on day one, it was an absolute train wreck. And the only answer you got for 3.5 hours or two answers was, I don't know, and this is still an ongoing investigation. I mean, that's all basically she said for 3 hours. It was just a, terrible deal, right? So, yeah, that to me was just two things are happening here, right? So this is going to become one of those JFK mysteries where 60 or 70 years, the truth finally ends up coming out, because everything just keeps getting swept under the rug, and pointing the fingers keeps going in different directions, and it just, tons of confusion. And isn't it interesting that the last time something like this happened, right? Last time there's been multiple attempts, right? Reagan had an attempt on him and so forth, but this was, isn't it funny that the word conspiracy theory came out during JFK's assassination, right? That's where the word, two words, was born. Conspiracy theory was born because if you didn't believe what the TV and the news and the Big Brother were telling you, then you were a conspiracy theorist. So I think that's very interesting. If we don't start seeing people held accountable, going to jail, not being fired, not resigning, I'm talking about arrested and taken to jail, because when this many things don't add up, it doesn't add up for no reason. It adds up because it simply doesn't make sense at all. So if people don't start going to jail and don't start getting arrested, we better really look at what kind of predicament that we're in. We are definitely in between a rock and a hard place. I can guarantee you that. So I'm sure most of you have seen this video. I want to bring it because a lot of people haven't. This is the video that TMZ brought out. So I'm just gonna skip around a little bit. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because there's a lot of talking that they do and stuff like that. But I just want to give you. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see it, but let me jump over here and look. And then it's going to be kind of small. Yeah. So let me just play it. I want you to hear the crowd.
Right there, see him? He's laying down. See him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And Scott, I'm here with you, fighting like hell to get a Senate.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look, there he is.
Because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals.
He's
we
on
have
the roof. He's
drug dealers. We have people that should not be here.
Right on the roof.
It's much tougher than
Now.
it happens.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
That is so shocking.
I mean, to me, that is just absolutely wild that he's on here. They notice him before the police do. They're screaming, "This guy's," and then it just gets more intense, right? Because people notice the gun and da 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 da. And again, there's a whole 3.5 minutes before the first law enforcement officer is on record seeing him at 6:08 until the shots are fired. 3.5 minutes. That is just. I cannot wrap my mind around that when your job is to be at a rally for the safety of the citizens, the public, the people working there, and the former president. And that is your job. And for 3.5 minutes, everybody runs around in circles. So now we're going to watch another video that is got some really interesting information. This is from Peak Prosperity. This guy has done some amazing, amazing work in this deal, and he's got a lot more for me to watch. So I'm just amazed at the amount of effort this man's put into this work and putting himself out there and really investigating this stuff and trying to make it. Well, he's not trying to make it make sense. He's trying to find the truth, and that's what is pretty amazing about this deal. So I'm going to go ahead and let me put that up here. Again, I'm a little slow at sharing the screen. Right. Let's see. Is that one it? Yep. So let me share this with you. All right. Make sure it's sharing. Okay. You guys can see the whole screen. All right. Here we go.
Detail that day. Here we are, 7/13/2024. Here they are, 34. And this doesn't include the municipal cops, and I don't have the state police yet. So we have more assets. So we have at least 34 people. I'm going to guess closer to 45 people, just a guess, whose job it is to make sure that nobody gets up on this roof, right? This is their whole details to make sure that this happens with some traffic duty to the municipals. But this is it. Now, this is just 7 minutes before the shooting. This is from the flash after action report by the local Butler County folks. They say here at 18:05, so that's 6:05. We know that at 6:12, the shooting starts. So just 7 minutes before the shooting, here's their situation that they understood. They understood there was a bicycle and a backpack over here under this tree. They understand that the suspect was noted at a picnic table here. They say that the direction and travel of the suspect was this way. And oh, by the way, they're now starting to coalesce around the idea that he might have climbed up this AC unit over here, which would put his travel to here. But they are also putting a Butler County sniper and a BC ESU sniper in this building. But later, as you'll see, obscenely, they are claiming that their field of view prevented them from seeing this roof, which is obviously flawed, and they're going to have to amend this report because we've seen Eli Crooks and other people shooting out of that exact window complex, and you have perfect oversight of the Crooks position. So there's a little confusion who was where, so we have to resolve that. So our first question today is, what were the police and Secret Service actually doing at the AGR buildings while Crooks was bear crawling up to the roof, as we now understand it? So let's look at this now. What we have here is the Stewart film. I asked Barry on our team. He has now stabilized it. So you're going to see these edges wobbling around. And unfortunately, the stabilization makes the red overlays that at real DJ Stewart 724 put on there totally fine. I get that. No complaints, but it's going to be bouncing around. But you either have to accept the red lettering to be stable or the rest of the view to be stable. So we selected the rest of the view. Let's just watch here. This is going to take us from the last shot. We call that shot 10 and stabilized. And we'll just watch this together. Then we're going to break it down.
Attention retirees, if you're willing to be at your computer from 9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. on most weeks.
So shot 10 has happened. We're now 4 seconds afterwards, and we're watching. Who's where, what's going on.
Plugs.
So glad we have this film. So glad. Answers a lot of questions. We see a lot of people up back in there. Okay. So for the first minute, this is just everybody kind of going, what happened? But notice you don't
guys,
see...
get down. Yeah, just get down. Get behind this tree with me. Get behind this tree. Get behind this tree, guys.
That's David.
No.
That's Dave Stewart.
Yeah, here.
They fucking picked that dude off. Did they pick him off? Fuck yeah, I saw a big poop of hair go up in the air.
Oh,
They
fuck
shot him right in
yeah.
the head.
Fuck yeah.
Big poop of hair.
Holy shit, guys.
What happened
That's
over here?
fucking
He got four
crazy.
shots off. Are you fucking shitting me?
This is fucking crazy, dude. I can't believe I got all.
national fucking news.
I can't believe I got all that on camera, dude. I was in the middle of it.
One
I'm going to
minute
get me
cop
kicked off of
walking.
YouTube.
Where's that Stady?
Kill confirmed, he
Looks like a
said.
mini.
He said kill confirmed.
He said kill confirmed.
Now people are starting to show up around that side. But first, here come two guys who are clearing windows. This is interesting. So here we are, a minute and a half in, and they clearly come from the west side over there. There's another character just entering. Don't worry, I'll give you stills of all this. We'll make sense of it. Okay, we're a minute 54 into this whole thing. There are plainclothes guys coming into scene here. Come around the side and look at all the law enforcement all clustered over there. We'll count them up in a still later. This is a very significant gentleman here coming up who's bald right there. Look at everybody. They're piling up.
He was on the roof.
Pallets, and they're standing on that little, I don't know, it's like a cabinet of some kind. We got all kinds of different personnel here. Munis, Stadies, Washington County SWAT, ESU, tactical response teams. Got all kinds of assets here. All right. This is such significant film. We're going to be able to tell so much of this. So I just wanted us all to see it together, and then we'll pick it apart. Okay. That's a fun little moment. We'll get
One
to that.
seriously injured. I just heard on the cops' radio.
One seriously injured. That would be Corey Comparator. And here's our first view of Secret Service red shirt guy coming in. There he is, jogging into view. And we are now just 3 minutes past the shooting. So don't see anybody on the roof yet up there. And they're going to go back, see if they can help these other guys make it through their Securitape fence, right? So here we have pretty good view of what's going on, the first minutes, the confusion, how many assets are here, tons of law enforcement. A Muni cop just said, everybody's not law enforcement, get out. So he's trying to take command of the situation. That guy right there. I don't know if that's Sheriff Sloop or not. And here comes.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Can I get your name? Yeah, for sure. I got you.
And that's it. Okay. So that's what we have. We have those 4 minutes. And so let's break that down because this is really key. So at 1 minute, 32 seconds in, a minute and a half in, we have this entrance of this first gentleman here, and he's clearing.
Okay, I'm gonna jump down a little bit more on this because there's some of this that's just kind of a lot of stuff to be talking about that has some relevance and then some that really doesn't. But one of the things that I think is really, really interesting is you have these plainclothes guys that come from the let me make sure I turn my mic back on. I did. You have these plainclothes guys that come from the left. Now, remember, take into consideration that there were people in the crowd that were sitting here telling people that they're sitting here screaming at the police that there is somebody on the roof. There's somebody, and at some point somebody says he's got a gun. And then so you have to wonder, where did these two plainclothes guys come from, right? So if they came from the left, I mean, this one guy's got looks like some knickerbockers on, and camo shorts guy in the front. That's who we're looking at, right? These are the two guys, camo short guy in the front and knickerbocker guy in the back. They just come out of the left. They come out of nowhere, and they start checking the windows. So it makes you wonder, a minute and 30 seconds in, okay, so where did they come from? Because if you just go to the left of that building, if you look at the aerial view of that building, there was nothing to the left but a field, right, all the way to the road. So where did these guys come from, right? And then, of course, we saw all the police officers that were crowded around this building. So then the next question really arises again, is like, well, how come they didn't get to this guy? I mean, are you telling me this? He just said there was about roughly 45 police officers, including the guys that were working the traffic detail out there, you know, with the people parking in this building, all that stuff. But 45 cops, and you got the public is announcing to you, there's a guy on the roof, you know, and not one could get him before he fires off 8 shots. I don't know. That's just a really tough deal to digest. So let's watch a little bit more.
Fashion statement, I mean. And then we got camo shorts guy. Okay. And this is our first appearance here that we see of what we're going to call ZZ Top Guy. ZZ Top Guy comes in as another undercover. And let me get my little piece back. Here we are. We got the 1, and we got this new guy 4. I'm going to have to explain in a second. We got number 3. So 1 and 2. And then we got this guy coming into frame. We'll explain him. We got a muni cop here. It looks like a state cop here. And then we got number 4, long olive pants, black cap guy, who, oh, and by the way, Bolo ZZ Top, right? So now we get a good look at the backs of the shirts here, so we can start to identify these guys out in the crowd if we can get better shots, better video from over on the west side. I want to know, were these guys standing there just looking at crooks on the roof, not really saying anything? Because that's be interesting information for sure. And here we can see long pants, a long olive pants, black cap guy comes racing in from the left, but it's just 3 frames. I don't know how far from the left. I don't know if he came through the fence. It's not really clear, or if he came from further out, if he was also back there. I don't know. But this is interesting. So now we have, I can count you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 people just in this frame, and we have a couple others out. I mean, we're accounting for it. There's a lot of law enforcement that are now here on the scene at T plus 2:45 after the last shot. 2 minutes, 45 seconds. There they all are, and they're all clustered, and they're all here. And I have to, hey, is that Greg? Greg, if you saw the ABC thing where the ESU sniper team came on, this is a gentleman there. And he looks a lot like this guy. I'm willing to make a positive ID based on that. And this is Greg Nickel. He is both a K9 and a counter sniper guy. And he has a long, so if you see his shirt sleeve right there, this is a tattoo sleeve, matches with this tattoo sleeve. You can see his tattoo sleeve here, and here he is coming around the corner in an unblown up way. So I'm pretty sure that's Greg. So that means Greg, he's wearing a shirt with a.
Okay, so if you remember, if you guys have seen the video when the police are up on the roof, and they're talking to the red tie guy that we just saw run up to the guy that was filming this, like, hey, what's your name? They ended up actually detaining him, and I don't know that they arrested him, but they detained him to get the video and all that stuff. But so when they were up on the, and we'll get to that here in a minute, when they're up on the roof and they're talking to this guy, right? He says, hey, just go talk to Greg in that window. I'm gonna actually, you know what? Let's take a look at this. This is Nick. I think it's Nick Rossi on TikTok here. Just take a look at this video.
Are we really going to let this fall into the second shooter on the grassy story?
Nope.
There's no effing way I'm the only person that discovered this, but nobody's asking about the confirmed subject in the van. 1 hour exactly to the minute after the shooting started. These two officers are discussing the confirmed subject in the van. What van? So here's the video. I slowed it down right as she's saying it so you can hear it clear as day. Her say, the confirmed subject in the van.
Yeah, I don't know how many.
Hello? Where you're
Bombshell #1, Commander. Do we have access to a drone? What is this water tower?
Any LE?
I will try.
In the van. Did he survive? Copy.
Okay, so in the van. Okay, so I'm assuming what van they're talking about was the van that had the Arizona plate, yada, 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 right? Through all the congressional hearing stuff that I've listened to, through all this, I've never heard about this actual person talking about the van. And I'm sorry, I thought that video had the one where he's telling him to go talk to Greg. I'll get to that here in a second. He's like, Greg, go talk to Greg in the window. Like, he is part of the sniper team. He's wearing his sniper shirt. He, as he pointed out, what his credentials are, the positive ID that he just did on him. So let's go back to looking at that video. Just give me a second. All right, here we go.
The Nike swoop on it, camo pants. He's got a gun drawn down here. So he is is he running the undercover teams? That's interesting. And you know why else Greg stands out to us? I know you remember this, so let's go through this together. Greg stands out to all of us because of this.
No. So this is the guy
Yes, that they sent yes, Beaver County Sniper Team and sent the pictures out. This is him.
Okay. All right.
Rifle's right there, obviously.
Got it. So the bike in the back. Is he on that bike?
We don't know.
We don't know. So
I
we're
don't
just
know.
treating that as suspicious device.
Oh, 1 second. I believe the sniper that seen these and sent the pictures is right inside this building. Michelle, is Greg in there?
Greg?
All right, so if you go to that window that's open and yell for Greg, that's the sniper that sent the original pictures and seen him come from the bike and set the book back down and then lost sight of him.
Okay, so one thing I want to bring up there is you just heard that police officer state. He said that Greg is the one that took the picture of him and saw him put that stuff down on the bike. Now, this is the bike that we see with the backpack up against it. And during the congressional hearings, Ray, Cheadle, all of them were asked about this bike and this backpack. I believe one of them's answer was, I don't know of any bike or backpack. And then the other answers were, we can't determine if it was his or not. You just heard him say Greg sent the pictures of him getting off that bike. So again, did the Senate floor recognize that? No. Did they back them into a corner and pin them down with this video and say, wait a minute, you're saying you don't know, let's watch this video. So how did you already investigate this for 11, 12, 13 days and you don't know that this officer took the picture with him on the bike, getting off of it and leaving it there with the backpack? This is why I wonder how it is that we get to these congressional hearings and we get these, I call them dog and pony shows, because they kind of look good, they kind of sound good, but the meat and the potatoes, they're never really there. And then the end result is usually nothing. It's just a bunch of smoke. And then we're on to the next movie on Capitol Hill. And then we see that one. And then we forget about the last one. And we don't even remember it. Now, this one's a little bit different because there's a lot of people that are really digging into this. But you have to ask yourself, if there's a cop right there saying, go to that window and ask for Greg. He's the one that took a picture of him getting off of that bike over there with the backpack. How can they come 11, 12, and 13 days later and sit on Congressional Hill and tell senators that they don't know if that bike and backpack, I think it was Jordan, they were telling us that they didn't know if it belonged to him. They couldn't confirm it. Well, that's weird because one of their officers just confirmed it. Right? This is what I'm talking about. And why is it that somebody like a nobody like me can see this, figure it out, but yet all the investigative units and the congressional and the senators and all their staff and all that, they can't figure this out? Or are we just being played? Let's go back to it.
He's the one that sent the pictures out. I don't know if you got the same ones I did.
I think I did, yeah. He's like got his glasses on and he's.
I think I did.
So we had the picture of that.
I got that.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is his bike with the stuff. And our sniper seen him walking away from that, I believe.
This is his bike with his stuff. It couldn't get any more clear than that answer. This is his bike with his stuff, right? That to me is just absolutely bonkers. That they investigated this for 10 or 11 and 12 days before they got up on Capitol Hill, and then they couldn't answer this question if the backpack and that bike belonged to Crooks or not. When even the Secret Service agent right there says, "Oh yeah, I got the pictures too."
Okay.
But he would be right inside that window. He's the one that physically seen this, sent the pictures, and called it out.
Okay. So, and we have somebody detained, correct?
That I don't know.
People detained on this side. Our guy that was just up here told me that there's a guy detained who's the owner of the bike, and I said, no, that's the owner of the bike. Yeah.
All right, so they're a little confused about that. I believe the guy who's detained might have been Dave Stewart, who shot this stuff, because I know he got detained for sure. So that unclear. And by the way, this is at 1909, so 7:09. So we're almost a full hour after the shooting. But this was really stood out to me when I heard it, because they're like, oh yeah, you got to go talk to Greg. Greg was the guy who took the pictures. And oh, by the way, just go yell in that window, right? And just yell for Greg. Just go through that. Just walk over to the building, to that open window. Hey, Greg, right? And then Greg will stick his head out and like, hey, right? So this is really important, and it's important. And we're going to get to this specifically on Thursday in the live cast, because it turns out that when I said threaded the security needle, it turns out that that building over there that you're talking about, that Greg was in over there, that 2-story building with perfect overwatch of the shooting spot down here, it turns out that not one, but both of the guys who were stationed up there, one of them went out to look for Crooks, but I don't understand. I'm confused. Why wouldn't you just like phone it in? Like, you've got obviously security person, you got people everywhere. It's crawling with police down there. I don't understand why you would leave your post to say, oh, I got to go look for this guy or help look for this guy. Just call it in. You got undercover guys out there. You got uniformed people out there. You got emergency response people. You've got.
So this goes back to what I was saying before. Like, okay, so they're saying that this guy left the building to go let other police officers know that he lost sight of Crooks. He didn't know where he was at, and he didn't know what was going. Like this, I don't understand how we can have these heads of FBI, Secret Service, Capitol Police. I'm sorry, State Police, and Butler, and all these people sit up here and look Congress in the face, and Congress look them in the face, and have a serious conversation about a sniper leaving his post that directly oversaw the president, former president, Republican frontrunner, with a direct line of sight from 500 feet away. By the time you back up across that roof line to those windows, maybe 525 feet away. Now, remember, they're in the second building, supposedly in the second story, which, again, if you go back to the article I showed you earlier, Butler's saying, "Nuh-uh, we weren't in that second window. We were in the bottom," right? So we're gonna keep uncovering stuff, I'm sure. And if they were in that building, why would you leave your direct line of sight and leave the asset open? You still have 3 buildings behind you that somebody could be on that you can't even see, but you definitely can still see the whole entire roof line that Crooks was on, and you could have taken him at any second. The second he got up there, give him a warning, and then of course I don't know. Nobody can confirm whether he got up there with this pew pew or it was already up there, or which is another very interesting thing, because as you're seeing Crooks move up there in that other video, he didn't have anything in his hand. So, and I couldn't see anything on his back. So let's go back and watch some more of this real quick.
And they're all like stacking pallets, and one cop apparently fell off of something and cut his hand pretty badly on the roof. That then led him to go into the bathroom, where he bled all over the bathroom, and then left to go get the hand taken care of. Another law enforcement personnel type comes into the bathroom, goes blood, and then there was this huge panic for a while because they thought another suspect was at large who bled all over the bathroom and that maybe something. So anyway, so there was a big panic for a while until that settled down, and it was revealed that somebody fell and cut their hand. Now, I don't have that incident on this recording here, but a good guess would be that would be somebody who was trying to climb up on the old Craftsman plastic, I don't know what you would call that. It's like a bin of some kind, and then they're stacking just pallets on there, and then they scrambling up, and something didn't work out, and there's a broken chair over there we can see in a later picture. So all of that's going on, and then finally, I like it that we watch Capri Pants guy runs over right to there where that arrow is. As soon as we come back, we'll see this. There goes Capri guy. Runs in, talks to a municipal cop, says, "Oh, hey, dude, why don't we hey, there's a ladder here, guys." And then
one seriously injured. I just heard on that.
Look at all the cops. Now they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, let's use the ladder behind the trees here." I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so I thought this had a pretty significant deal, right? So they're sitting here telling us over and over and over and over that there was a 3.5 minute gap between when the first officer noticed Crooks on the roof. There was 3 minutes later, another officer hoisted another one up and got him to look over the roof. He saw Crooks with a gun. 30 seconds later, shots are fired. So in that 3.5 minutes, nobody noticed the ladder that was right there leaned against the building. So then did Crooks really go to the back and work and crawl up the back and work his way around? But they have camera footage saying that they have camera footage at 6:06, video from a business that shows Crooks crawling up on the roof. So I'm assuming that is correct, that he crawled up on the 4th building, the back building, or 5th building, however many there were, and then he worked his way along the roof line to the front building. So when they're trying to that from 6:08 to 6:11, that 3 minutes, you mean to tell me that now I'm older and I'm probably not in great shape as I once used to be, but I'm pretty sure I could run probably around that building twice in 3 minutes, maybe 3 times, right? So you're telling me that 40 something police officers over there that are trying to figure out where this guy is at couldn't have made the loop around the building at one time and noticed that ladder that was there? Again, there's just so many things that leave you like, what are we even talking about, right? All right, let's go back to this video. This stuff is just, it gets crazy.
So anyway, that's that piece. And of course, we see number one, ZZ Top guy, but there's a lot of assets here. So this is kind of interesting. So yeah, there was a ladder there that they didn't use. And then of course we saw the red tie Secret Service guy who was there talking to whoever that was on helmet cam, talking about Greg, the sniper, right? And this is also about the same time, right at this moment here at T 4 minutes in, where we see this gentleman down here, looks like a muni cop or maybe local sheriff. I can't identify. Authoritatively shout, "If you're not law enforcement, get out of here." So this is the first person attempting to exert what I'll call scene control. 4 minutes in, finally saying, "If you're not law enforcement, beat it." Okay. So this leads to a lot of questions. We have so many questions now. And the first question would be, look, if there was a minimum of 3 undercover people on the west side of Building 6, Why weren't they engaging Crooks, and why weren't they at a minimum informing people that Crooks was there? Second, why weren't they notifying all the confused cops about where he was? Because earlier in the Stewart film, you can see all these cops, guns drawn, walking all around, looking up at the top of the building. And it would have been great if somebody went keyed into their little like Secura mic there on their undercover thing. Go, hey, dude.
So I kind of want to stop it there and go into that real quick. I mean, this is super, super important to me, right? Like this is something I'm really baffled at how we don't have an answer to. If there was a minimum of 3 undercover cops out there on that west side of that building, because we saw that's where they came from, how come they never engaged Crooks? When we saw the video from TMZ and we saw the video from people's cell phones, and they're like, hey, the guy's up there on the roof. And, you know, what were they doing? Were they texting it in? Like, hey, people over here see some guy crawling on the roof. We don't really know what's happening. So why didn't they go engage Crooks? Why didn't they go and try to figure out what the heck this dude was doing? Because I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive here, but I think if anybody is crawling on a roof, you know, crawling on a roof during a rally, I'm going to think something's not right with that picture, right? I'm going to think something is probably not right with that picture, right? The other thing is when all the police started coming up, instead of them going, hey, he's right over here, they just keep like they're clearing the bottom windows. And I get it. They're trying to make sure there's no other threat. But if you remember in that video, 2 other police officers ran past those windows without even looking at them at all. Right. And then here they come. Oh, let me check the windows. The other thing is it's interesting that there was no reporting of shots taken by ESU that day. But in my next podcast, I'm going to get into something that's going to rock your boat a little bit. So as I'm telling you, this stuff is unfolding by the minute. It's getting more and more and more interesting. So we're going to jump back and listen to a little bit more of this. Oh, see, I goofed it up. I stopped the screen. All right. Let me get it back up. Still learning. All right, here we go.
Looking at the pre-staging reports, there were a Washington County SWAT team and also an ESU sniper who were all the way on the far side of the facility, hundreds of yards away. So maybe that's the shot they're talking about. I don't know. We're going to have to work this out and resolve it. As well, how is it possible for so many LEO and civilians to be aware of the danger, but not the Secret Service? I mean, at one point in the Stewart video, you can see this whole group. There's like a dozen people. I'll have to count. And they're not facing Trump. They drove from who knows how far away. It's all exciting. Trump is on the stage. They're not facing Trump. They're facing the other way. They're all facing the building where the shots are about to come from. How is it possible to have so many people aware of the danger, but not Secret Service? How is it then that Trump is left on the stage until after the shots rang out?
Okay, so that's pretty much the end of that. There's a little bit more that goes to it, but it's pretty much irrelevant. But again, he brings up a really relevant question during all of this commotion. Why wasn't Trump pulled off the stage? I remember seeing, you know, either in the news or something. I don't remember exactly how I saw it, but there was a couple of times during Trump's rallies that there was a scare, maybe a loud pop or something like that. And they, you know, swarmed him and got him off stage. And then, you know, they figured out what was going on and then they put him back on stage or whatever. Right. So you have to wonder why there was no reaction going on. And you have to wonder what was being said or done or not done. And so I think it goes back to 2 things. Number one is I think it goes back to we were told that the Secret Service well, let me put it this way. They were asked multiple times during the congressional hearings. We've heard that you diverted assets to our Secret Service to Jill Biden, who just happened to be in Pennsylvania that day as well. And then also to Kamala, who happened to be in Pennsylvania that day as well. So interestingly enough, both of them happened to be in And it would be interesting to see when Jill and Kamala set up their deals compared to when Trump announced his, right, and when it was set up. I do know that people didn't really know about this until the 8th. July 8th is when local law enforcement found out about it, but Trump announced it on the 6th on his website. So it would be interesting to see when Jill and Kamala set up theirs. But emphatically, Director Ray and Cheadle and Rowe have all said that they did not divert one single person, not one single person, away from Trump and his protection detail. Now, if I'll get to something else about that in a second, but listen, there's a whistleblower that just came forward today who claims that Secret Service Acting Director Rowe personally ordered reductions in the number of U.S. Secret Service agents assigned to threat assessments for events. According to the whistleblower, these agents were absent in Butler, despite some of them having warned about security issues for months. Okay, so what this is saying is that they have agents that assess what's going on in the threat assessment. So of course, with Trump, not only do you have the normal threats, but then you also have, I don't know, maybe the president of Iran who said that he's going to unalive Trump and Barr and whoever else he said. So he literally like named them by name, right? And said, we're going to take you out. So you have to wonder why that didn't increase the security. Then something else that you're really going to have to ask yourself is, this is another story that we're getting, because if you notice the actions of the Secret Service that day looked very clumsy. You had the one lady that couldn't get her gun holstered, so she just decided to keep it back out, chewing her gum, and you had 2 or 3 holster their weapon while they're protecting the president, which didn't really make any sense to me. And they just looked very discombobulated, right? People just looked like they were all over the place. They didn't know what the heck they were doing. Well, that's because Trump's permanent detail, the guys and gals that are normally around him, apparently were worn out. Trump is obviously on the campaign trail, so he's moving. And they had worked 7 days in a row for 3 or 4 weeks. I don't remember what the exact deal was. And I don't think these guys work like 8-hour days. I think they work, 12, 15-hour shifts, something like that. And so these guys were just beat down, right? Okay, I get it. People get tired. I understand that. Especially 7 days a week. That's a stressful job. You're away from your family. You don't see them at all. You probably have very little communication. I would imagine that is one very, very, very tough job. So it would be Rowe's call, right? Because he oversees all this. I'm assuming it would be his call unless he delegates that to somebody else. So if there's a leader on that team, maybe he delegates this to them. I don't know. So I don't want to speak out of turn there. But in my mind, right, when I heard that they let them off because of how tired they were, and they replaced them with other Secret Service agents and OIAs, other intelligence agencies, other intelligent, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Just people from other places, right? So, and I think Dan Bongino commented on this 4, maybe 5 days ago. I think maybe it's a little bit more than that. That he had inside information that's what happened. Now, they didn't really come out and say that in these congressional hearings until they got grilled about the stuff that I watched today a little bit more, right? So it's weird how that got skipped over. When they kept asking, did you pull resources away from Trump to give to Jill or give to Kamala? No. I guess they didn't ask the right question. Did you send in the B team? Okay, now, again, I don't run these teams, so I don't know, but here's what logic, common sense would tell me. If I'm going to have to replace some guys because they're worn out and they need a break, I understand. At the very maximum I would have done was I would have taken half of them and given them 4 days off, taken the other half and given them 4 days off when the other half came back. Why would I do that? Well, that way, whenever the new group comes in, so I don't know, let's just say there's 20 on the detail. So 10 take off for 4 days. We bring in 10 other replacements, no matter what they're from, how they're from, and we pair them up with one of his permanent detail. Why? Because his permanent detail knows the ropes. They know how everything goes, how everything works. And so they know how to direct and help the other person, right? So at least you'd have been 50% better than what happened at a bare minimum. But that's not what happened. They just sent the whole team away. But they want to ensure you that the people that they replace them with are 100% competent. They are the best of the best, and they normally don't fail, I guess, right? So again, it just strikes me as very, very strange that they didn't, take them off. I would have, if there was 10, I would have given like 4 off for 4 days, given 4 off for 4 days, and given 2 off for 4 days. I wouldn't have let even half of them go at once. That just wouldn't, not during a time where you're rallying all the rhetoric that's going on. I could always play the video of all the celebrities and the news people and the other senators saying, let's punch Trump in the face and let's all this other, take him out back and whoop him, blah, 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 all that stuff. But we know that rhetoric's going on. And then on top of that, you have the Iran threats. And on top of that, you just have the normal everyday threats that are possible. So you just replace the whole team with the B team. And yeah, so I don't know. So I'm going to cover more on Tuesday. I don't know if I'm going to even wait till Tuesday to do one. I might end up doing one over the weekend because there's so much information that's coming out. It's hard to wait that long to put one together because by the time I put like this one, I had a whole deal put together for an hour, what I think is an hour in my head, because again, I don't have anybody helping me do this and I don't have it all laid out perfectly. So, but after I got it all done, I sat down and watched several more hours of information, and I completely scrapped the entire deal that I was gonna, this entire 5 pages, I completely scrapped it because so much information had changed in that, and I needed to redo it. So I may also just start putting out some shorts, and then I'll just put some notifications in TikTok, and of course it'll notify you here on Rumble or YouTube. But one of the things I want to say is that we're either watching the best movie that's ever been played in history, or and Trump has better reflexes than a bullet that he can call on command at 72 years old or however old he is. Or we need to truly grasp the magnitude of the situation that we are in as a country. And we need to understand that while we sit in the comfort of our own home and we go to work and we run to the grocery store and yeah, things suck, but inside your bubble, it's not too terribly bad at the moment. I mean, it's not good, but all hell's not broken loose. We need to understand just how close we are to that. We sent 12 warships to Iran today. Well, last night, technically today. Iran has vowed to strike Israel back because they killed Hamas leader. And you can guarantee if Iran strikes Israel, it's on. And it's not on by proxy like it has been. It's on by boots on the ground. And it technically it's not been proxy, right? We've been firing rockets and dropping bombs in Yemen and all this stuff. So we're there. And I'm not really sure if we make it to November without the whatever side you want to call it, pulling out every string out of the hat. And a war would be a hell of a string to pull. So I hope that you are looking at it as serious as the situation truly is, because I want to say, America, in the blink of an eye, every one of our situations could change. and it'd be very drastic. So I hope that you're truly digesting what's happening and you're really understanding what position you're taking in that matter. And if you're out here creating the rhetoric and the hate and the spewing the vomit, then you are creating that problem and making it bigger, or you're at least adding to that problem and making it bigger. And then you have to be careful because we usually reap what we sow. And when you create so much hate, you don't leave much room for love. And, you know, I want to say to whatever side you're on, I relate more to one side than the other for sure. But as you guys know, I've become unpolitical over the last couple of years because all politics does is it's just like religion. It causes us to fight each other viciously. I've seen people say things to each other that, how do you not know somebody and say such vicious things? I mean, I guess that makes it easier since you don't know them. But that's somebody's brother, sister, father, aunt, uncle, child. And I really, really, really hope that people just stop and take it all in and really think about where we're at. Because if I'm not sure that what we're doing will fix it. I'm not even sure that if Trump gets in office, it'll fix things. I don't know that we haven't already gone too far. Look at how broke, how stretched, how depressed. I mean, just the other day, I'm walking around just staring at everybody, just really paying attention, not talking, not nothing, just looking. Do you know that out of seeing about 150 people visually with my own two eyes, I saw one person smile out of 150 people. That just shows me the gravity that we're in. And sometimes people don't even realize that they're in it. So I guess the reason I'm just saying this is I hope that you're preparing your mind and I hope you're preparing your soul because things are getting worse by the minute, and not to make anybody depressed, but to make sure that you're really paying attention. And we, the people, have to come together and find a way to stand up and not wait until it's like Venezuela to where you have to seek to destroy the country in order to bring it back. We have a lot of great minds in this country, a lot of great people. Find a way to get involved. Because I'm telling you, I've got some videos I'm going to be showing you on the next podcast. The other side is making sure that they're getting the votes, and I'm going to show you how. And it's a lot of what most of us speculated was going to happen. It is happening, and it has happened. So, are you getting out there and helping? Are you bringing people the right information so they can help make the right choices? Are you taking the time to inform people? Are you helping at your poll? Are you, whatever way you can help, are you helping? Or are you just sitting back and hoping somebody else fixes it? Because I promise you, if that's the majority of the people, it won't be fixed. And we will find out very quickly how bad it's messed up. So look forward to seeing you next time. Make sure that you're doing your due diligence before you spread something. Make sure you research it. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just take somebody else's word for it. Make sure you check into it somewhat. If I ever put a video up and you just see it disappear, that is because the second that I find out that it is incorrect, that there's something on there that is not true, I will delete it. I don't give a crap how many views it has, how far it's went, any of that. I will just delete it. I'm not going to make another video to tell you that one's not true while that one keeps going, because chances are you'll never see the other video that tells you that one is wrong, and then it just keeps spreading the wrong information. So look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday. I may drop some things prior to that. Stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and really look around and digest what's happening. Y'all have a good night.